Is your astrology even a map if you have zero interest in self-mastery? If you are not looking to actualize who you came here in this life to be, what purpose would astrology serve? My name is Stacy Patrice. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to take a little bit of time to discuss some ideas that have been coming up for me, some things I've seen, things people have told me, as well as remembering my own journey on this very continuous path of astrology. And as you may have heard me say before, my journey started with the idea of actualization, of looking at my life in times where, if you think about your teenage years, you're not really sure what your direction is and why things feel so strange, perhaps. Like, I'm not really sure why I'm having this dissonance with, these people or this thing that's happening or these things that are coming up in me that I don't have outward language for. And so utilizing astrology is, maybe what some people would say is like your first therapist is kind of what that period felt like, but way more intriguing and no ideas of something being wrong, just a place where you can find, insight. And so I've been thinking a lot about what astrology is without the I am. And one of the things that has me ask this question is that as I used to teach yoga and over the years as I've practiced yoga, I am has always been the foundation of my practice. It's always been the place where I can remind myself why I'm even on this mat. Why am I even doing these postures, holding these postures, keeping my gaze? Why am I breathing this way? What is all of this about? And a lot of times we move into things because they're popular, because they're trending, or because someone suggests and we try it and it feels fun. It feels like a lift, maybe there's a high involved of some sort. But what's behind all of that at a certain level for probably everyone who has sought out an alternative path or has followed a trend into a more alternative path is really the idea of self-mastery, self-actualization, and often self-care. I think about yoga as an opening to a lot of different sciences, awareness, consciousness, understandings. That once you are in your practice, you can look at all of these different things that are happening, that are coming up for you, and you can start to make sense of what that is and why, maybe those things are showing up for you and need certain things. So at one point in time, I took all of the yogic postures and I meditated and received these metaphysical meanings of all of the postures. And I mean that in terms of how a person's body is on the mat and how they experienced it. And I led some activations with this idea and this knowledge. And people found it to be extremely resonant. It did come from my practice. It also came from my teaching practice. And just noticing what might have been going on with people as they were, configuring their bodies in these different positions and postures. And so I think it's really easy to bypass the self and think that they're going on a journey somewhere else. But really, that's just you bypassing yourself. That's just you projecting outwards into whatever's happening in life and saying, oh, that's more interesting and easier to look at than what's going on with me. And I am here to say there has to become some kind of aptitude that you have for your own I am. There has to be an aptitude that you have for your own ability to master, to actualize, to express what you are feeling, what you are sensing. You don't have these senses to delay consciousness. You have these senses to help and aid in consciousness, to help you understand and put things together and be able to see and feel and sense and taste and touch all of these things that are happening in your environment. And as you do that, there is undoubtedly a connection between you and the things you're experiencing, and that reflection can most likely be seen in the stars if you know where to look and how to look. As is above, so is below. And so your energetic signature is something that is responding to how much you are taking in, how much you are noticing, how you are feeling about what you are noticing. And this is the reason why there is a time to advance and there is a time to retreat. There are times when it's more important to not always be looking outside of yourself for answers. And then there are times when it's important that all of the ways in which you have looked outside of yourselves, you have kept some of that knowledge for yourselves. So I think in my practice, in my experience, astrology is a map, not a master. It is a companion. It is something you take along with you that is helpful. It is a guidebook. It is a way to interpret and understand the happenings of the time. It is even a way for most people to predict or for people to get insight. So, whether you are looking for personality, predictions, or your person, astrology becomes a kind of map. But you have to know how to read the map and you have to be able to have some kind of experience on what it looks like when you are traveling the road of that map. And that comes from your own actions, aspirations, and involvements in life. Without those, it's just a map. But there are some people that look at astrology as a master, forgetting that they are the person that has to do the mastery. So when you are looking into your life and trying to figure out, okay, what are the ways in which I would like to go? Okay, I'm looking at my map. My map is telling me that this is a good time, this is not a good time. My map is also pointing out what I could be doing during this time, or what's ahead, or how long will I have to endure this time period that feels so tumultuous? Will I make it? Like all of these feelings that come up when your life is operating strangely and you're not sure what's actually happening. Some people go straight to what did I do wrong? Why am I being punished? What didn't I get? What do I need to do? And they go into a frantic mode because somewhere in their mind, their life is short of paradise. That there will be times where they will be punished for not doing what it is that they are supposed to do. And what I am saying is that you can look at a map and it can tell you where to go, but there's more than one route to get where you're trying to go. So if you're looking at your astrology map and it's saying this is the path, it may take you some time to say, you know what? I'm ready to try that path. It may also take you some tinkering, some moving around, some trying some things that don't work, some failing, some hurting some people, some hurting yourself before you get to the place where it feels a little more easeful. And that too is part of the process. Again, it is a map for your mastery. It is not your master. And so as you start to master yourself, you can look at your astrology story going back in time, your Sankofa, as well as your future, and feel grounded in your present. What's happening with me right now is why I'm looking this way and that way. What's happening with me right now is why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. And then I must look at the stars to understand what those feelings are. Because if I don't have words for them, or I can keenly pick up on something, but I'm not sure what it connects to yet, then I might need a map to help me navigate where I'm headed. But your constant, continuing actions, practices, learning, relationships, career, these things are not standing still for anyone. They are constantly being shaped and changed and reiterated and reimagined. And all of these things, they are revolving, a lot of them. So a cycle's coming back around and you're different. And as I like to say, you're on a different octave of a previous cycle. That's if you're still growing. That's if you're still into your mastery. That's if you're really, really diving into the things that are natural to you and shutting out a lot of the noise about what everything else is doing. Sometimes it can be a distraction to focus on everything out there until you get the mastery in here, until you get nice, right, and tight in here. It can be a distraction to seek outside. It can be a distraction to have all these terminologies and ideas and, you know, things that are happening, and you're still not in that first relationship with yourself. I am not saying this as an assumption. Throughout the time that I have been sharing the practice of self-love and soul healing, as I uniquely call it, I have worked with people for over a decade, specifically hearing this skipping of self in order to be more acceptable to the creator and going past what's going on with self to other people. And it always will relate and release back into your life an opportunity to look at yourself. Think of the times you've been the most giving, the most sharing, the most generous in your knowledge, your resources, your skills. Think of the times that you have gone out of your way or out on a limb to provide something to someone else that you could see they needed, or you could see that you could be of help, of contribution. And think of how many of those times something happened on that journey that led you right back to yourself. And I want you to know that's what I mean when I say it's about mastery, because you must, in some instances, deal with the things that you don't want to deal with. You must get news that you don't love, as I did yesterday. You must, you know, find yourself in these different scenarios that are asking you to pay closer attention, that are drawing you into the details that you're thinking about, sensing, dreaming, all of these things. These are the kinds of experiences that every person who is traveling the path of self mastery will encounter. But the goal is for you not to get to the point where everything that's happening outside of you has you wobble. That's one of the goals, right? It's not the only goal, but it's to get to the place where you can receive something in your presence in real time and understand what it is. And when you start tapping into those kind of feelings and you start moving with that kind of rhythm, then what's happening outside starts to clarify and makes more sense. You start to get messages and see things about what's happening outside. You start to say, let me go look at what transits are going on today. But a lot of times people choose that first and then make it force them to come back to themselves. But with wisdom, you start starting with yourself and then doing some correlative, quality inspection, some matching, some kind of connection. It's a two-way street. You can go either way, but the way that leads to mastery is not bypassing your I am. It's not at all bypassing who you are. And it is available, that who you are that you know about is going to be available in your relationships. It's going to be available in the bright future ahead in the ways that you can experience it. This is just a map. We know on a map, we see lots of routes, lots of paths. We see obstacles. We see things that, especially if it's an interactive map, we see things that are happening in real time, and we can look at things that may be happening ahead of time. Every single day that you decide to go somewhere, you can check your GPS and see what happens if I go to the same place in 2 weeks, but I go at this time. You can do that. And the reason you can do that is because that is the function of a map. A map will help you to look ahead, at least an interactive one, a navigation will. It will help you to look ahead. It has all the data of predictions, of findings, all of this. And it will help you to look ahead. It will help be a powerful companion to your plans. It will help you to pay more attention to timings and cycles and signs and symbols. A map is a wonderful guide and companion to help you master what it is that you internally feel you came here to do. A map will help you to actualize it. It's not going to tell you that you can or can't do something. It's not your master. It doesn't tell you can or can't do something. It doesn't remove your will. It doesn't change. It doesn't give you, names of people that you're going to meet and how they're going to act in your life. But it may give you some kind of prediction that these events will at some point happen, and maybe around the time that they are really ripe to happen. And that is the beauty of having an interactive map such as astrology, is that it will tell you when those fruits are going to be ripe enough for the picking. It'll tell you when those fruits are going to be ripe, and it'll also tell you when those fruits are going to fall off of the tree and sometimes rot. But we must see who we are in order for any of that to make sense. So that's work you still have to do on your own. Astrology can be a companion, but if you stop doing the work on your own, it's just knowledge that you're looking at and you're making sense of intellectually. And you are a soul living a spiritual existence. You have to do that work. So self-love and soul healing definitely connects with astrology, definitely connects with how we engage with others, our communities and other people. But the essence of looking at someone who has lived a life such as I had to do yesterday, looking at someone who has lived an amazing, important life is to see the energy of their map in person, in present, real time. Do I need to look at the map to see who this person is, or can I pay attention to what's showing in front of me and not personally look at that person's navigational map and just be present with the person in front of me, understanding who they are and how they're traveling? And then maybe have moments where I'm like, I don't quite understand that yet, but who I'm traveling with, who I'm paying attention to, understanding them as a divine reflection as well, and that they will do things differently and they will do things on their own autonomy and their own willpower. And that is important to look at as well. The chakras are also included in astrological maps if you study if you study the precise calculations and the systems that have that. So that is definitely present in Vedic astrology. There are elements and symbols and the animal world and all of these things that are available to you in astrology. So it's about looking at the multi layers, looking at the multi layers of your map. And definitely the explorations that come with that are important to look at. So you're not just looking at yourself from one angle. If you start looking at yourself from multiple angles, even in your own natal chart map, then you start to see things boomeranging and reflecting each other. You start to see that symmetry, that reflection, as well as that interconnection. And it becomes a holistic map. So what happens if I just take away my big three? If I just take away my big three, I'm not necessarily getting that boomerang, that feel where this is connected to that. And that is what I look at when I look at my clients' charts. There's so much to look at when I look at my clients' charts. It really depends on why they're coming and what it is they have questions about. But there is also that same kind of curiosity and inquiry when I'm looking at my own chart and when other people are looking at my chart for me. And that becomes the thing that I'm looking for is like, what is it that I can do? And then maybe what areas is it pointing to that are most advantageous now? Or what is the timing of something I'm feeling? But most of the time, the feeling precedes the math. I can feel it, and then I check against that for the math. And so I want to invite you to share in the comments, what is your kind of relationship with astrology? Are you a person that every day you look at your map before you start your day? Do you check it periodically? Do you listen to it online as it shows up? You know, back in the day, we used to have columns in the back of magazines and newspapers, and you would look at that column because it would give you a horoscope. And I remember one of my teachers saying, it is not advantageous to look at your horror scope. And the reason why he said that was because your horror scope is only showing you one piece of the puzzle. So you're getting like something and not getting the context around it. It's just saying this is what's going to happen and this is not good for this and this is not good for that. And it's just giving you like this splatter and there's no context because a lot at that time, it wasn't like this time. It wasn't like, you have a million people who are astrologers who've been studying and adding to the canon. Like it was not like that. It was a very specialized thing. And some people would say it was better then. But I think it's better now when there are more people engaging in it and adding their own personal intel to the technology, to the formulations, to the history, so that it becomes a part of human consciousness. And so, this is the last chance. If you are interested in learning how to read your chart, go ahead to my website, stacypatrice.com/ to the east. And today is the very last day. And even if you are not able to join us for this sidereal self-study journey for 8 weeks, maybe when you see this video, there'll be something else. Or maybe there'll just be more videos. Whatever it is, I look forward to continuously journeying with you. I look forward to being one of the people that is speaking the language of your I am and reminding you how important it is for you to master self, for you to actualize what you came here to do, and for you to not just bleed outside the lines looking at what's happening everywhere else, but really, really get in tune, listen, connect with whatever version of the creator you have, and be disciplined in your spirituality so that as you move forward, you have clarity in all of the maps and tools, signs, and symbols on your path that allow you to know I am here. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to talking with you soon. Please like, subscribe, share, and definitely comment. And have a beautiful day. Peace.